Welcome back to Bunny Banter, the first and only podcast for everything Killer Bunnies. I'm your host Matt, here with co-host Mikey.
Hello.
And as a guest today, we have an extremely special guest. You might even say a very special guest with the Killer Bunnies funds. Chris Schroeck, the president of Ultra Pro.
Hi, very nice to meet everybody.
What are we talking about today, Mikey?
Today we are going to go through and we're going to ask Chris some questions about some new things that are coming up in the Killer Bunnies line at Ultra Pro. We're going to talk a little bit about the mass market, and also we're going to talk about Killer Bunnies Lite.
Quite true, quite true. But before we get into that, I have to say, on behalf of the community, that we've all been very appreciative of the work that Ultra Pro has done for Killer Bunnies. You know, hearing about all these new products that are coming out. From what I hear, is you became the president recently, Chris, and I know that you were left with a little bit of a mess. You know, with some side issues. You know, with the misprints and conquests and all of that. But I know you've handled those things very well, and I have to say that we're all quite appreciative of that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, it was. I've been in the role for a little over a year, and I want to clarify because the president of Ultra Pro is my boss.
Ah,
So I just wanted to clarify.
there we go.
Yeah, I'm the senior director of entertainment, which is all of the games.
Okay.
So yeah, I oversee all of the games, including in our stable, including Killer Bunnies. And so with Killer Bunnies, as you know, it's had a little bit of a maybe a bumpy start with Ultra Pro, but this is one of the games that when I joined the company, I know how special this brand is. I've known it for decades. I remember this kind of introducing me to a deeper version of what gaming can be beyond, spades or hearts or one of those types of card games that you play with a standard card deck. This is one of those ones that I just remember seeing and thinking like, wow, games can be so much more. And so I was very excited when I came on board with Ultra Pro to be able to dig into it. And we came out with London last year, and I think that kind of was just the first step in what we're hoping is going to be a great year this year for bunnies.
Amen to that. So let's get into the topic for today. We've all been hearing about the upcoming Killer Bunnies products. There have been a couple that have been mentioned. So, Chris, if you could tell us a little bit about what you have planned for this year.
Sure. So this year we launched London back in January. It was a little bit late, but we had some printing issues, and the print quality wasn't where we wanted it, so we weren't able to get it out for Christmas like we were hoping. I actually wrote a letter to Jeff, which he published on some of the forums, basically explaining that Killer Bunnies is very special to us. We know it's special to the players and the fans, and we want to make sure that we're putting out the best product possible. And you'll hear me say this a couple different times, but one of the famous game designers that I think of is Shigeru Miyamoto, who's very well known for his work at Nintendo. And one of the things he's often quoted as having said is, he says, a delayed game is eventually good, but a bad game is bad forever. And this is kind of one of the things that, as a product designer myself, it's always been one of my core tenets, is that I would rather have something be late and great than be on time and mediocre. And so that's why we held back Killer Bunnies London. We launched that in January, and I think that's an awesome set. If anybody's ever been to London, you'll see all of Jeff's traditional inside jokes in there, just about the British culture and about life in London, as he summers over there quite frequently. So that started our January release. Then we go into our next product that we're going to be releasing is Killer Bunnies Lite. And this is really we're really excited about this product. It's a little bit different than a normal booster or an expansion of some type. This is a brand new standalone product that can be folded in with the existing Killer Bunnies products. But what this is a somewhat simplified take on Killer Bunnies and the Killer Bunny experience. So we've removed some of the marketplace and the water and the cabbage and things like that, and it really sort of what we think focuses on the essence of Killer Bunnies, which are the randomized cards that come at you and attacking other bunnies by having your bunny equip and attack this other section of the bunny circle and taking out adjacent bunnies and all that kind of stuff. And so it allows you to do that and get into a game with that kind of chaos and mayhem in very quickly. And even if someone's never played Killer Bunnies before, it's just an easy way to get into the series and then let that be a launch pad for the rest of the game. And then we'll be rounding out the year with cake batter, which I understand you're going to have Jeffrey and Jonathan to talk about more. And so I won't go into too much details about that, but we expect that to come out late summer, early autumn.
Very exciting, very exciting. Yeah, I must say that the Killer Bunnies Lite set, we've been hearing a bit about it from Jeff. It kind of reminds me a little bit about like the remix sets that was released a long time ago. I happened to get my hands on a used copy when I got mine. It's no longer in print, of course. So it's cool to see another streamlined, perhaps that's not the right word, but another light set like that where it's a good standalone. So we're definitely quite excited to try that one out. I know Mikey and I have had quite a bit of fun with Remix whenever we're not quite up for a full set game. The lowered carrot count is definitely a benefit there. And the removal of shops simplifies the game quite nicely, so that I'm sure this intro set will be a very good starting point for new Killer Bunnies players anytime I need to teach any new players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that we know that there's a bunch of Killer Bunnies fans, but sometimes these games, and not Killer Bunnies specifically, but just the bigger hobby games that have a little bit more depth, they're a little more cumbersome for the casual gamer to get into. And so what we saw was this opening to get more casual fans involved. And if they only stick with this one, cool. And if they see it and they're like, oh, I just want more, I want more depth, I want more strategy, we have that for them too. So what we kind of wanted to do was create a game that was just, it was a taste of the Killer Bunnies world, or a nibble, I guess, for lack of a better term.
A bunny bites.
So yeah, exactly. So we wanted to create this set that just allows fans of Killer Bunnies to say, you know what, I think my friends would be into this. Let me just bring Killer Bunnies Lite over to our house, back when we could go to each other's houses. And, let's just grab this and we'll head out and we'll play a quick game and people will love it. And we're really excited about this set because it has some art that has not been released before. Mm-hmm. And it's really there's some new content. So it gives fans of Killer Bunnies and fans that have the entire history of Killer Bunnies, it gives them a reason to pick up the set. And it gives people who have never ever played but have always been curious, it gives them a reason to pick up the set. So we really see this as just kind of opening the arms of the Killer Bunnies community and really just embracing any and all who are interested.
Quite true, quite true. Yeah, you mentioned the cards with the new artwork and all of that. I've been talking quite a bit with Jeff on this, of course. He mentioned to me that there will be carrots in the light set that are exclusively released in the light set, which I thought was pretty cool. So in terms of the full set canon, you might say, those carrots will be included, of course. And
yes.
he also mentioned that there will be some cards that have not yet been released in full set, but will be. So some brand new cards that we haven't seen yet. So even for the experienced Bunnies player, this is certainly a great set to get for those extra carrots, and for the brand new unique cards as kind of like a sneak peek until they're actually released in a normal booster.
Yeah, this really is. It's just it's a beautiful collection of, like I said, some art that hasn't been seen, some art that hasn't been seen yet, some carrots that haven't been seen, some mechanics that haven't been seen, and really, it's just kind of like I said, it's we're super excited about it because it has all this unique content. But in addition to that, it's also just a very accessible game that people can feel comfortable bringing over to someone that has never played it before. So it has all these things going for it, and I think that's just one of the reasons that we're super excited for it.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the hype train for this one, this Lite set. I've been quite excited for it ever since it was announced. Um, let's see. You talked a bit about the markets being removed, which I think is an excellent change for this type of set. Are there any other major changes that would be immediately noticeable to the experienced player?
I think the markets, like the cabbage and the water, those are the real big differences that you'll see between the Lite and the standard version. Beyond that, we've tried to, there's some cards that have a lot of quirky mechanics, and we've tried to bring sort of the best of those, where they only work at certain times or on certain days, or you have to do something in the physical world that helps determine the outcome. And so we've kind of really tried to play up the wackiness and the like I've said before, the chaos of what a fun Killer Bunnies experience is. And so we've really kind of selected these cards to play that up. And then, like I said, we brought in some new artwork, brought in some new mechanics, brought in some new cards, and we're just really excited to kind of put this all together in one package with a nice bow and have it be something that people can just go out and buy and have this experience.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be quite exciting. When is the approximate release date and price for this set?
So our goal is to have it in like available on our website, which is ultraprogames.com. Our goal is to have it available through that website at the beginning of July. I just looked at the proofs yesterday from our printer in China, and they look awesome. Um, yeah, like I said, I was a fan of Killer Bunnies before, but if I were to design a set, this is the set I would want. Like I'm just super excited to have this just like complete experience in a box. Um, so yeah, I'm super excited about it. We're selling it for $20, which is a little bit more than um, a standard expansion, but it has, I want to say, 110 cards,
Kind of like a starter
and
deck then.
yeah, it really is closer in size to a starter deck. Um, and so we wanted to price it accordingly, but we didn't want it to be something where it's outside of the range of, we know outside of the range of just an impulse type of buy.
Mhm.
What we're looking for is, we know money's tight right now. We know that this is a different world in which to launch a physical game. And so we're kind of taking all these things into consideration. And we kind of have looked at having developed games over the years, we look at $20 as kind of the cap of that impulse price point, where if you're vaguely familiar with something, you might think, yeah, $20, I'll give it a shot.
Mhm.
And we also wanted to be cognizant of what, we don't, we know this is some unique content, and we're giving the fans a lot of unique and neat stuff. But we don't want to gouge them for this kind of stuff. So we thought, where's a good price point? And we just kind of looked at it and we said, I think we can make this work for $20. I think we're gonna be able to get some economies of scale. Hopefully we're gonna get this into some new channels. And like I said, really it's just to kind of expose more people to the Killer Bunny franchise, and hopefully also give Killer Bunnies fans yet another reason to have these expansion cards. with unique content and unique art.
Very exciting, very exciting. I know for sure that I'm going to be using this set quite a bit, if it's everything that lives up to me for
Yeah,
teaching new players. Because starter set's great and all for teaching new players, but it gets kind of dull. It doesn't quite get that
yeah,
good Killer Bunnies feel. Remix sort of does, but Remix is out of print. Doesn't work for everyone else. That just works for me because I happen to have one. And Remix is arguably a little bit too complex because Remix actually included two shops, include the markets and the pawn shop. So it'll be kind of nice to have to not be required to teach those mechanics for a player's first playthrough, since those are
right.
a bit more counterintuitive to understand for a new player. Killer Bunnies itself, although the mechanics are quite simple, realistically speaking, the mechanics are quite unique. So it's difficult for uh, casual gamers to catch on to things right away if they're not guided step by step. So it's very nice to have a set like this to provide for those new players.
I have a
Yeah,
question.
that's one of the things we're really excited about. I'm sorry, but that's one of the things we're really excited about. Is just I know even having worked on this product, sometimes I'm challenged with trying to teach more casual game players, and there's so much wackiness and so much fun that can be had when you're thick in the middle of a Killer Bunnies game and you're having a great experience. But it's hard to get someone to that point with even the basic set. And so, and that's kind of what we wanted to do with this set. And that's why we were calling it the Lite set. It's just, we stripped out a few of the more complexities, and hopefully have kept all of the fun.
Mikey, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I have a question, and maybe this is diving too deep into how the game or the mechanics of this game for this podcast. But without the having the marketplace in place, how are players going to be acquiring carrots?
There are a number of ways to acquire carrots in this one. Um, Predominantly, it's through stealing carrots from your friends or pulling cards and using them as run cards to be able to choose multiple carrots, or there's some contests that allow you to win carrots
Mhm.
based on die rolls or various actions. So it is a different way of acquiring carrots,
Mhm.
but we think that this is going to be, again, very accessible to casual game players, but also kind of a fun and unique way for veterans to acquire carrots.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, the choose a carrots will be the main way it seems like then, which is perfectly fine. That's the main way you would gain carrots in the regular Killer Bunnies anyways. The dollar is in some sense a secondary method,
Right.
since the dollar would be used on so many other things anyways. So that I
Yeah.
for the experienced players, I wouldn't expect that to feel too much different. I think feel quite familiar. At the very least, it'll kind of feel like the situation where the market is closed in some sense, but without the extra downside of some of the cards no longer working. All the cards will work
Yeah.
as intended, which will be much less toxic than a closed market situation.
Yeah, so yeah, and to your point, most of the ways of getting them out into play is going to be through choosing a carrot. But by having the carrots out in front of you, there are other cards that will allow people to either gamble to try and take the carrots, or to try to steal the carrots, or put them up for a contest. And it allows the carrot movement around within the players.
Right, makes it quite exciting right up to the end, which is of course what Killer Bunnies excels at.
Yeah.
Now let's see. We've covered a lot about the Lite set. Now I know there's news about the mass market set that we've also been hearing about. So if you could tell us a bit about the news there.
Yeah, so this is unfortunately a victim of the virus, and we just haven't had the staff and the team in place to really work on giving this the full attention that it needs and deserves. And I guess this is a Bunny Banter exclusive, as we haven't shared this outside of our team very far beyond talking to Jeff and Jonathan and all this. But Jeff and I had some long conversations over the past week, and neither one of us felt that this was a very good Bunnies experience in its current format. And so we've decided to put it to rest for now and hopefully look at maybe launching it next year or something like that. When we've had a little bit more time to develop it. In the end, we felt like they were coming, like the mass market one was coming very close to the Lite version, but it wasn't as good. And so then we were faced with two products that were very similar, but one being not as good.
Mhm.
We thought, well, we've lost the differentiation between these, and the latter is not as good. So let's put out the one that we really believe in and we really think is awesome, and let's refine the one that we think also has legs and has something to stand on, but let's refine it till we feel like it's distinct enough, but still providing a great Killer Bunnies experience. So we are going to put that on pause for 2020 and potentially release it either very late this year once we can all get back to work and get to work on it a little bit. We're either going to do it very late this year or early next year.
Yeah, so there's the news on the mass market version. So I'm sure we'll be discussing that further once we get closer to the release date. As long as we have time, we can cover a little bit about cake batter, at least what you know. I know that's been mostly Jeff's project. So tell us what you're excited about for to see in cake batter. You know, the different things it's going to add and that kind of stuff.
Well, one of the things I'm really excited about is the new mechanics that Jeff and Jonathan have worked on. I think, I know each booster deck adds a unique mechanic, and the one that's coming in cake batter, in addition to being pastry themed, which I really like, it just has I think it's going to have some really interesting gameplay, just ramifications and how it will change people's strategy. I know you have Jeff and Jonathan on it, so I feel like anything I say is not going to be it's going to do a disservice to what Jeff and Jonathan are going to be able to share for it. But they've walked me through the mechanics. They've told me what's coming and how it works and how they play and things like that. And I'm really excited. Like I said, as a Bunny fan, I think this is going to be a nice wrinkle. It's going to be a nice new mechanic that rolls out, and it also builds on the previous one of what was introduced in London with the Bunderground. So you'll see a little bit more of that, and then also this new mechanic that has to do with like some time space continuum stuff. So yeah, I'm excited. I think the references are really great, and yeah, I think it's going to be a really cool set, and it'll be out in time for Christmas.
Time for Christmas. I was about to say I couldn't remember if you mentioned it, the release date, but in time for Christmas, there it is.
Yeah, I think I said late summer, early autumn, and that is 100% our goal.
There you go. Early Christmas present
Yeah,
for us then.
yeah. Thanksgiving present or Halloween present, maybe.
Oh yeah. That'll be quite exciting. It's always nice to get killer bunnies around the time for holidays so that you can play with family and such.
Yeah, and I think between these two sets, there will be something new and this is kind of the way Jeff and I were looking at it, is that there's going to be this holiday season, there will be something new for Killer Bunny veterans, and there's going to be something new for people that have never played, and everything in between.
Sounds great. I'm always excited for a new booster. Let's see. I think we've covered most everything. Mike, do you have any further questions?
Well, I have a couple of questions. We're kind of looping us back. We're talking about the Lite, but how long um, did it take to develop this new Killer Bunnies Lite from its conception to now I suppose.
Let's see. I'm thinking. I think we started. We might have started. What month are we in now? May. I guess we started in probably June or July of last year,
Hmm.
and we really started. We started just the infancy of what this could be in maybe May. We were talking about it because we were at a games expo in the UK, and
Mhm.
we were talking about this and thinking, we met a bunch of fans in the UK that are huge fans of Killer Bunnies, and we had just been talking to them, and one of the things we kept hearing was, yeah, it's really great. We haven't seen anything in a while, and it'd be great to get new people into it too. And we just kept thinking, well, what are some of the barriers? Like, what are some of the challenges we've had when we've tried to introduce players to Killer Bunnies? And from there, we kind of had some conversations with Jeff, and we started putting together some decks that were like best of in previous years. And then we started to kind of build on it. And Jeff said, "Oh, I got an idea for a mechanic here." And we tuck that in. And then, "Oh, this one doesn't kind of work that well." So we take that out. And we just kind of have been refining it over the last, I don't know, 5, 6 months. Uh, and then probably about 3 months ago, Jeff and Jonathan kind of said, "All right, we think we have the bones of something here. Let us give it a nice touch and really kind of plus it up." And at that point, I had been talking to Jeff. He was saying, "Well, I have some mechanics that I haven't really found a spot for." And I said, "Yeah, let's put them in here." And I said, like, some of the things that I've found to be very fun are like B flat, where you have to balance the key on your finger, and the first
Mhm.
person to do it wins. And like some of these wackier ones, I think are the essence of what makes Killer Bunnies such a special game. And we were talking about that, and he's like, "Oh, I have some ideas for these." So we'd tuck those in, and he's like, "Oh, well, I have this great piece of art, but it never got to see the light of day." And I said, "Well, let's put it in there." And so we started to kind of pull this thing together. And then, like I said, a couple months ago, Jeff and Jonathan said, "All right, well, we think we have the bones for something. Give us like a weekend or 2 weekends to really dive in and kind of shepherd all these ideas and all these things that we've been doing over the last 6 months. Let's see if we can kind of corral these into something that is what we're imagining." And
Mhm.
when Jeff and Jonathan came back with the finished set, we all took a look at it, and we were like, this is a fantastic experience. Like, this is really an exciting experience. So this is this is absolutely going to have a place on my personal game shelf,
Mhm.
and I'm just really excited about this product. I'm really excited about launching this, and I feel like it's going to bring a whole new bunch of bunny fans into the fold, so that there's even more bunny noise. It's a great game that's been around for so long, and I think because of its age and because it's been out there for so long, I feel like sometimes it's a little underappreciated. Obviously, the fans listening to this are not gonna be part of those underappreciating ones, but in the bigger scheme of things, I feel like it doesn't get the credit that it's due. It's
Yeah.
a fantastic game that has really kind of ushered in this bigger world of hobby games, and I think this is going to breathe new life into people that have never heard of it before, and bring a whole bunch of new fans into the mix. And so that's why we were excited to launch this in conjunction with something for the fans that have stuck with it for the years,
Mhm.
so that there's a little something for everyone.
That's wonderful. Thank you for going through all that. That was fascinating.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, and we're hoping to have, obviously, we don't know what's happening with the convention season, Gen Con and Origins and all that stuff. But we are hoping to start to bring some of these into more of a digital form. And I'm sure Jeff and Jonathan can talk about that more when you have them on. But we have stuff in the works to hopefully bring it to an even wider audience, even in our home sequestered situation that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
That's very exciting to hear about. Hey, did you have any other questions, Mikey?
No, that was my big question there.
There
So
we go. I think we've covered most everything now. So unless you have anything further you'd like to say, Chris, I'll start closing here.
No, I just wanted to thank all the fans for the world of Killer Bunnies. I wanted to thank everyone for sticking with us and being with us through thick and thin. And we hope that this is going to be an exciting year for everyone. You know, we're excited about the launch of the 2 expansions, and we're excited about this Lite series. And you know, we hope to continue to deliver great content for you.
Very well said. So thank you, Chris, for guesting today as a very honored guest and taking the time, your valuable time to interview with our small podcast.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been great to talk to the fans.
Oh yeah, excellent information that I'm sure the fans have been very much anticipating to hear about. So,
Awesome.
as far as announcements go, I have no idea about with my usual announcements with Bunny Banter since we are recording this approximately 4 weeks in advance. So there's probably announcements that are relevant, but I don't know what they are. So, you know, if my brother
Insert relevant announcements.
Insert relevant announcements. If my brother were here, he might be able to prophesy the announcements, but bit of an inside joke there. Hashtag prophecy shreds.
Okay.
Anything you'd like to say, Mikey?
Well, yeah, so let's be looking for this Killer Bunnies Lite coming out maybe around July, about $20. You guys make sure you go pick it up and, you know, show it to your friends who have maybe been skeptical about Killer Bunnies or maybe have never heard of it. Since, like Matt said, we're recording about 4 weeks out, so I'm not sure what the whole virus situation is, but about this time. But, you know, just remember to stay safe and stay smart and play Killer Bunnies, especially tabletop. And other than that, Jeff bless.
Jeff bless.